I will never forget the day I went to the orphanage. My parents gave me up when I was barely 8. They were arguing over something I was unsure of. Recently, my dad had been acting more and more authoritative over my mom, making both my mom and I more scared of him. Every time my parents got in a fight, they would yell at me, their only child, to leave the house. But that time I decided to linger outside the house. Their conversation was inaudible, but I witnessed my mom slowly backing away from him, subtly reaching for a drawer behind her. Then I heard a gunshot. I rushed into the house to find my dad's immobile body laying in a pool of blood, and my mom on the ground, sitting there with a dead stare, like the shock had frozen her body. I hurried to comfort her, but she cowered at my touch. "Go away," she said, shakily and quiet. I had wondered why she was pushing me away, but I loved and trusted her, so I packed some stuff and went to start my solo life.
The conference took place in Phoenix. I had attended these meetings before and had a pretty good understanding of what they were about. When I went to my first one, I thought they were stupid, and I didn't see how any good could come out of sitting in a circle and hearing people talk about their problems and how bad they have it. I saw it as a gathering of middle-aged white people and felt like a black sheep in the crowd. I was a teenage native that was straight out of Alcatraz trying to pick up the pieces of my life that I'd willingly smash with a hammer. My brother Rocky and I had it rough most of our lives, an alcoholic mother, and a father who pulled me and Rocky out of school. Me and Rocky made it to Alcatraz, and for once in my life, we thought that we were happy. I've always been very positive. Living in a household where I constantly see the bad and having to make good out of everything does that to people. I saw this as an opportunity, really. I was pretty quick to make friends, and they always ended up being the ones with the worst influence. Unfortunately, I started to drink so much that I wasn't able to remember the last day I was sober. Alcohol essentially turned into my water. Bad decisions were often the result. I even ruined a girl's life, and it was a regret I would carry around with me forever.
The world we live in is a crazy place. Millions of stories remain untold, yearning for exposure. That's where I come in. I wanted to be the storyteller, deliver other people's messages around the world, hoping to make an impact somewhere. Yet how was I supposed to help other people tell their tales if I hadn't come to terms with my own? My story starts a long time ago, when the world was a little less crazy. Growing up, I was the most optimistic kid you'd ever meet. My face was constantly adorned by a smile, and I was looking for ways to pass my smile on to others. It was that, or accepting the horror film of a life that I had been given. Growing up, my sister and I kind of stuck together. We looked out for each other because our parents didn't. Father was always on drugs or drinking, and Mom was often in a similar state. Their faces were melted like clay, and eyes wide open like glass balls. I'd often search for myself in the reflection of the almost black retina. The endless cycle continued until one day Mom and Dad got into it badly.
Mama is moving us to that big island over there. Opal whispered as the wind blew through her hair, sending the dark strands flying into her face. She brushed them aside as she continued bringing her lips closer to my ear. "We'll be getting on that boat soon. She says that we're going to be with Indians of all tribes." Alcatraz Island was an ugly thing. A dark, jagged hunk of rock sticking up out of the ocean like a stalagmite. My nose invisibly crinkled at the sight of it. People at the dock directed us to a suite of cells at the heart of the island. When did we ever decide to willingly imprison ourselves? I scoffed, my sound muffled from where I was underneath Opal's arm. She shushed me while she stared hungrily at the stacks of bread and pots of stew littered on the white tables from beneath the cell bars. Her stomach grumbled. I know she was hungry. Our yellow house on the corner of the street had a sunny exterior that hid the sad, sad truth about our family. We struggled to eat, pay the bills, and keep our house. Their mother, Vicky, tried as hard as she could, but it was never enough. Not for the fast-paced world that was always willing to leave people behind. So we kept running and running to catch up until we couldn't run anymore. That's how it's been for natives ever since the white people landed on our shores.
I was on my way home from work. My conversation with Tony lingered in my mind like a curse. They told me I'm stupid, but really, I knew the offensive power of language. One word may break the inner defense of the human heart. Tony was caught in such a mire, getting deeper and deeper, self-denying. I saw my own shadow in him. Most of the people who came to me for consultation were Native Indians, and I felt empathy for their experiences. I saw myself in their stories as the villain. In high school, people started to talk about my looks. I often heard people compliment me and say things like, "That's the pretty girl," or "Someone likes you." I felt like there was a distance between me and the other classmates, and no one stepped into my life, even a little bit. I longed for a friend, someone who I could make memories with. I tried to integrate into some groups of girls, but I constantly heard girls' voices in my head saying, "Doesn't she just have a pretty face?" And during that time, my mood was very depressed. I never knew why, but I was always ignored, even though I was always sincere. Why couldn't others see my efforts? Why did they only see my appearance? There are many things that are unsatisfactory in life and a few people to talk to. It is true to say that I have beautiful skin, but behind that pretty surface, I was super, super lonely.
My dad has pulled my brother and I out of school to come to Alcatraz. It sucks. I could still be home right now playing video games, but my dad insisted on dragging us all the way over to stand up against the U.S. government because they were taking our land. I did not know much about my family's background except for the fact that they were Cheyenne. Knowing my background is not important, according to my father, and when I ask him about it, he tells me a different story every time. As much as he wants me to, I can't see the good on being on a stupid island that no one wants to go to begin with. The soup that they gave us when we first got off the boat resembled more sewer water than food, and my brother Harvey ditched me to go play with his new friends. It must be nice to make friends that easily.